All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited here to have Josh from Smart AC with me. We are so excited for today's webinar, all about how you can make the most of summer to turn it into recurring revenue. So just as a little bit of background about Josh, he is the founder and CEO of Smart AC. And he is a serial entrepreneur. So he has deep experience in HVAC, but he also has a residential construction company that's completed over 17,000 projects. And that is just astounding. So you have both the experience of working in the trades, but also running a technology company for the trades. And there's truly no one better to speak to the importance and the different ways that you can create a consistent relationship with your customer on an ongoing basis. So Josh, super excited to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Shelby.
Awesome. Well, today's topic is, everybody is experiencing a heat wave right now, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, very warm thing, but it is beautiful. And summer is always slammed and it's hard to keep track of all the different things you should be doing. But this is also a really important moment to not just run calls, but to set the foundation for fall and beyond. And with that in mind, I'm curious, Josh, if you can just share, first off, a little bit of background on what you do and your current work with contractors and how you start to think about that problem.
Yeah, sure. So everything we do at smartac.com, we kind of call the platform a customer loyalty management platform, and really where we focus on is memberships. As you're aware, for decades, the only way of having an ongoing relationship with a client is in the trades has been to sell them a membership to just stay relevant, to make sure you win the next demand call. And so at Smart AC, we focus on giving contractors different ways to grab and retain customer relationships inside of their membership programs. And so, like you said, during the summer is the period of time where they have usually the most interaction with new customers for the first time, which means it should be the selling season for not only big ticket items to drive the bottom line, but also onboarding customers into memberships so that you can continue to increase that customer lifetime value on average as you grow the business.
That's awesome. And so to dive right in, why is creating, just for people who are new to memberships altogether, like why is creating a membership strategy so important? And perhaps why is it even that important in summer? I think so many people are like, let me sell the install, let me sell the fix, and get to the next call.
Yeah.
It can feel like, I don't know, why should I do this?
So the numbers say that without having them on some sort of ongoing relationship like a membership, they forget the company like even a month later, right? And so generally people are not having these needs, every month or two, or it's 1 or 2 years. And so the chances they're going to remember your brand and reach back out to you go down dramatically if you don't have some sort of presence along the way. And so there's different ways of accomplishing that presence, of course, but in general, for decades, people have sold membership programs to do that. During the summer, during the shoulder season, generally you're spending a lot of time with your current members, your current customers. The summer is where the influx of new ones are going to be. So really the best time to be adding to the loyal customer base is when you have new customers coming in the door, and obviously 5 or 6 months a year is when most of that happens. So we, generally people, like we were talking before we went on, that this time of the year isn't the best time for us to onboard maybe new clients because they're out, they don't want to push out new strategies in the middle of summer. But as far as the maximizing the value of working with us during the summer would be the opportune time to be growing that customer base. From a high level, it's different around the country, but we use like a 1 in 12 years, 1 in 15 years that someone needs a new system. And so how many of those opportunities you get is directly proportional to, how many homes drive that denominator, right? So it really is a numbers game, and we focus on the conversion rate to memberships and the retention rate. Those are kind of the main two KPIs.
So that's super helpful. And as you think about like that conversion rate to a membership, those two KPIs that you just mentioned, what are some of the what is the baseline of what conversion rates to memberships look like? And do you measure that against like a new install quote? Do you measure it against a repair? And I guess to even begin, you have to be offering it.
Yeah, so I would say industry wide, it's been around 20%. But that's kind of been the standard for the last 50 years. If you were at 20%, that wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of normal. Um, and we have many situations where we've been able to boost the value of people's memberships with, we haven't talked about it yet, but of course the technology, the sensors in the house, and the homeowner engagement through the software, to try to show the homeowner a lot more value in the plan to get that to 30 or 40%, right? But honestly, so many times, like, what helps you dramatically increase the conversion rate is just having different offerings for different type of buying personas. And so certainly getting people that will prepay to have you come out to the house annually as high as possible is great. But then, using monitoring only or using a software only relationship allows you to, I believe my goal is that our clients can get above 80%. And to answer your kind of what you were asking, it's really just like your first interaction with the customer. That's your best opportunity to sell them a membership. If they turn it down that time, it's kind of hard to get them to buy it the next time. So doing a good job of communicating the value of that overall membership on that day one interaction allows you to increase the lifetime value of that relationship, mostly just by extending it to other big ticket items in the future.
That's awesome. And also, I can only imagine the impact not just on HVAC only shops, but shops with multi-trade. Because if you
Yeah,
have a touch point with that's based off of the HVAC relationship, but you're not replacing it because they did such a great job for another 15 years,
that's right.
you are going to have some plumbing needs or some electrical needs in the meantime. So it leaves a huge opportunity. And you're right. We rushed ahead. I think one thing that would be very helpful for everyone to understand is, what does Smart AC offer? Membership plans is sort of the starting place, but there is such a slew of offerings to get to folks, not just at that 20% conversion on a membership plan, but to 30 or 40% and eventually 80%. That's insane.
Yeah. So our first offering was a combination of sensors, real simple sensors that go into the house to understand the health of the equipment. And then the payoff of that data, which is letting the customer know before they have a loss of comfort, helping them optimize their air filter changeouts, letting them connect with the contractor, booking directly through the app, flowing through to Service Titan, let's say, or now video chat with the contractor before they even have to come out to the house to kind of make sure there's no nuisance calls where they drive all the way out and they didn't need to go. Or just give the homeowner some confidence that now is the time you need to come out. So that offering, we offer at $10 a month inclusive of the hardware, incredibly low cost considering everything you get. But that powers people's kind of core plans. So those plans are usually like $24 to $35, let's say, a month. But so much of the increase in conversion is allowing other offerings, right? So some homeowners are willing to pay $30 a month, but most aren't. And so having another offering at about $10 a month allows you to grab somebody that says, look, I don't necessarily want to prepay to come out every year, but I know you're going to have to come sometimes. And I like the peace of mind of the data, especially with like water leak detection and things of that nature. And then I'll use the data to decide, we can decide together when you should come back out, right? And so that having a $10 offering allows you just to grab more customer relationships. And now our new offering is a software only offering that, for a couple of bucks a month, you can still retain that relationship. So it's really just about having every different type of buying persona have something that they can latch onto. And then in all cases, you have the app relationship for them to book with you in the future. And even just going and booking through the app keeps them from going back to Google, where they could either find someone else, or even if they find you, many times our customers say that they're repaying for the same customer when they click an ad, right? When they even just Google their name. So there's a lot of benefit to having a captured relationship through the software, of course.
That's amazing. And I guess one question I have for you is, what have you seen from a return on investment for the contractors you get to work with? What do they see, either in terms of seeing that lifetime value increase, or seeing that membership plan actually creates more stability in their business?
Yeah. So the two main KPIs are conversion and retention. The conversion is a leading indicator. We can see that very quickly. It really kind of injects some more life into their membership program. Usually things haven't changed in a while until we start working with them. So the technicians, like being able to have a sexier offer, if you will, right, for the core plan. So acquisition is important, but then also retention. Like, we have some household name brands that have gone from 65% annual retention of plans to in the mid 90s% annually. And if you compound that over 3, 4, 5 years, the models show literally you have 3 times as many customers, on memberships. And that helps keep your guys busy in the off season with those calls, and also kind of gives you God mode in every home to know where the revenue is, instead of kind of randomly going to the house multiple times a year hoping there's something to sell or there's a need. You can prioritize the homes that where the system is clearly not operating well. And all of this is just a numbers game. And so what it does is it helps that blended average ticket increase dramatically when you can be more strategic in where you go and when.
That's awesome. And I guess I'm curious, like, where do you see, yeah, have you been able to, and I know this is requires years of data, but like see the impact like going into summer? Do some teams, are they able to get ahead of issues that might be like an emergency fix, but it's, like a system that's still under warranty. So it would have been expensive to them as a company to actually run that in the summer versus running it in late April when they can uncover, oh, it seems like the airflow isn't as strong as it used to be. Let's actually go out mid-April instead of going out like May 31st when all of my guys want to be off because it's Memorial Day, and also like all of our no cool calls are starting to come in.
Yeah, so you'll like this because I know you guys do a lot of really deep tech stuff. So we're building AI models now. This has been generally driven by, more legacy style algorithms, which are still very powerful with all the data we get, and the machine learning. But we're building the AI now to build a model for every single house on just all the thermo, right? So basically the delivered capacity, all the different metrics of the envelope. And then that model, of course, is for each house and changing over time. So what that allows us to do, and we're working on this feature now, is what we call peak demand shift, right? So people told us, look, on the first hot day of the year, all my members call at the same time, right? And one, it's hard to service the members like I said I was going to do. But two, I can't take all the new inbound that's lighting up as well. So peak demand shift looks at every home, predicts that, hey, here's your performance at 82 degrees this week, but the forecast next month is obviously going to be in the 90s, right? And we're predicting that this customer will lose comfort then. And then that communication can then be like, hey, we're predicting this is going to be a loss of comfort. We can not charge you, overtime or emergency fees if we can get out there when we're in the area, right? So it is all about shedding that peak demand out, generally forward, not backwards, but pushing it forward so that you can, most importantly, yes, you give the homeowner a better experience, and maybe they don't even lose comfort, but also you can fill your board on those days when it's really hot or really cold with new customers, and that really the opportunity cost of not doing that can be very high.
For sure. And this just got me thinking, like, have you thought about, I'm sure there are teams that are already using this data to route technicians appropriately. Like maybe they see, okay, home A is experiencing, an
Yeah.
airflow problem. Let's send our guy who's like really good with ductwork quotes and like might actually be able to diagnose, like, is this a ductwork issue? Or let's send our guy who's really good at doing XYZ because we know like this is definitely like this might be our fault, or like this is a fixed situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So that there's different use cases there, but one of them is callbacks in general. Like when you put a new system in the house and you include the monitoring on it, we can let them know in the first 3, 4, 5 days, hey, this was not installed correctly. And so then you can do like a happy call a week later. Hey, we just wanted to come out and do one last quality inspection, make sure everything's good. We got a gift to leave for you too, or something like that. So that instead of you getting an inbound urgent call, you just look like a hero doing QA to go fix the thing that they didn't do right. So that's a really cool use case. And then, like you said, just when you have the data, and we actually put it on a map so they can see where there's opportunity. If a tech's in an area and has a couple, an hour to kill, he can do a real quick drop by on a home, again, just to have a nice touch point. Even to maybe it's just to change an air filter or something like that you wouldn't want to do an entire truck roll for. But when it's a 10-minute stop in between two in the area, it allows you to have more of those nice, magic moments for customers.
That's amazing, because I'm sure what you can see also is not only the retention rate on those membership plans, but you're seeing the like probably the customer satisfaction scores go significantly up at the same time because you're delivering a better experience, and it's an experience based off of like it's predicting their needs before it becomes an issue, but still remaining present, which I think is the other issue that maybe actually the best shops might face is the best companies are doing the best installs. They actually have no reason ever to go back to the home. And so being able to have some sort of mind share that isn't a marketing email can probably go a very
Yeah.
long way.
Yeah, the touch points in between are really important. So we talk about it in a couple of like two different main use cases. One in between when the homeowner has a need, right, which is everything, most days. And then we call it B day, which is breakdown day, like when they have something really wrong, making sure you can optimize that experience as well. But in between, when they don't have anything urgent, it's those touch points that we do with like monthly reporting of the health of the system and virtual visits where the tech currently that's done manually with 2 or 3 minutes from the office where they like look through all the data visually in a screen recording and then send it to the homeowner maybe in between when they're there in person. Eventually that feature and all the nurture series when something is starting to go wrong is going to be fully automated with AI. But right now, some of that manual work is still a hell of a lot more efficient than having to make a trip to the house. But yeah, I mean, our vision is they onboard the homeowner, they put the sensors in the house, and then from that point on, the AI takes care of everything all the way through the homeowner booking in the app. And that can look different ways. That can be the homeowner, has a problem, books to the app proactively, or it can be a nurture series of, hey, here's what we're seeing in the data that's concerning. Snooze it. They snooze it for 3 days. 3 days later, it's a little worse. And then they're like, okay, I'm ready to book. But at the end of the day, we want to make it to where the contractor just has to do what they do best, which is show up when the homeowner says come and not necessarily take on like a new way of being proactive, calling homeowners and doing all of that stuff. It makes sense to do that, but that's a little harder. So we're working now to automate all of it so that they can just kind of set it and forget it. And the next thing that comes through the black box is a demand call.
That's awesome. Because yeah, one reflection I have as I think about anything that a contractor is doing in the field, when you think about how many different touch points, how many different roles are touching a specific home. So you think about how many different technologies that need to be used if they're not being used already in the field. I think you have to automate as much of that experience as possible and provide a clear workflow. And so having a clear guide like all you contractor have to do is sell the membership and
Yep.
install this, which you needed to do anyways. The difference is now you have options. So
Yep.
this comes back to probably the hardest part, which is hardest part and also maybe not so hard part of selling that membership plan. I'm curious what you've seen be effective in terms of feeling comfortable. I think sometimes we actually just had a session as a team where we were debriefing one of our team members. One of our sales team members actually just went on a ride along with one of the customers he sold to, and he was telling me about the comfort levels that he compared two completely different sales team members that he went on ride-alongs with, and you could tell one was super confident selling whatever they had, and the other was not because they were recently promoted from being just being a technician to being a selling service technician, and they felt very uncomfortable selling anything that was an add-on.
Yep.
And I'm curious, that's not an uncommon mindset that we see. And so I'm curious, what have you seen work well for training teams to actually navigate that transition to selling a membership plan if they haven't been already, or to just doing more with that membership plan where they have to explain the benefits?
Yeah, so we see memberships being sold in two primary ways. Of course, the CSR on the phone before the tech even goes out. Some of the bigger shops, that is kind of the norm. And those people are generally pretty good salespeople. So we have scripts of what works best, and we train those teams on how to do that. That's all part of what we do with our partners. But then you have, like you said, the techs in the house, right? And with the smaller shops, usually it's the techs are maybe the only ones selling memberships. But even with bigger shops, at least there's a second opportunity if the CSR didn't sell one. And so what we have seen is usually it's just the visual assets that you give the technician that to make their job easier doing that make the biggest difference, right? There's still going to be some salesmanship, but like the more of that you can take off the technician, the better. So we work with our clients to build a custom one-page front back that explains the membership, all the value of it, the bullet points they want to include, the loyalty credits that are tracked, that accrue through the app, obviously where the sensors go, how all that value works. And that can take a lot of it off of the tech. Like just hand them something and let them take a look at that asynchronously while you're doing your thing. And then I push our clients to use video as well. So many times there'll be a QR code on that one pager or on a smaller card they use that allows that messaging to be done the exact same way every time. Many times, voiced over via video by the owner of the company or the GM or something like that, right? And so it's really just about how do you systematize selling, and the more that the company can take on from the marketing and sales collateral, the easier it becomes on the techs. And then the last thing I would say is, we try to make sure that the technicians also have the product in their house. And so when they can pull up an app and show the homeowner, hey, this is my house. I, love that I can see this, or my air filters go this way, or I caught a water leak, within the first 3 weeks or something like that. Like each tech could latch onto something about the software they like, and then they get to see it in the moment. And that helps make it a little bit more real to the consumer as well.
I love that. It's part of our onboarding process at Conduit is we encourage people to run a load calculation on their house and to do a scan and to say, here's the scan of your house. It's completely anonymous. In fact, this is
Yeah.
my house. Like this, you can't see anything about it. And I think
Yeah.
it's about putting the customer at ease based off of your own experience. And you're like, you're a customer too, essentially. And it
Mhm.
makes you sort of on that same playing field. I'm curious, as you think about those were a lot of actually different tips about, where your office staff can be selling versus your techs being able to sell this. I'm curious if, the best practice that you've seen, would you say that that starts with the memberships being sold by CSRs and then perhaps being followed up by service techs? Like what is the most ideal process that you've seen?
Um, I
And
mean, I
maybe it's
think
not one size fits all.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think to optimize, you should be getting the maximum amount of swings. So I think in general, if I'm spitballing, I think having the CSRs offer the core plan you want to sell. It's hard for a CSR to offer 3 different options on the phone, right? So go with the core plan that would be the best for your company, including at least one visit to the house a year. And then, have the technician offer the other options that are lower priced, right? Many times when they sign up for a membership, they get some sort of discount today. You have to be careful with that because sometimes that can be the reason they actually sign up, and that's what makes them turn off later on. But yeah, I think it's got to be a 1-2 punch. To optimize it, you're going to get a 1-2 punch, and you need some sort of strategy on what the CSR does and then how the technician follows up. I believe optimally you have 3 offerings: one with visits, one without visits with the technology, and then one maybe drop down near free offering, ideally free, to just keep the relationship in some way, shape, or form through software. And it's probably definitely not ideal for the CSR to have to say all of that on the phone. So I think the CSR leading with the core plan, going for the jugular there, making a commission when they sell it. That's really important that you comp the people right. And then if they swing and miss, then the tech can follow up one last time in the house, maybe with a piece of collateral or something like that.
I love it. I think actually one thing that you were just saying just dawned on me that the evolution of the offerings, not just at Smart AC, but that the top tier companies are offering is like membership started as like a very human based way
Yeah.
to keep a warm connection. Smart AC
Yep.
came in and said, great, let's use hardware and data to be able to supplement human
That's right.
interaction. The
That's
next
right.
piece that you're doing is that next layer is okay, now we have so much data that we can model off of. Now let's do a data offering, a software offering,
Yeah.
which is then reducing the cost to offer it and turning
Yep.
something that is hugely value additive into a combo of a marketing strategy and
That's
a
right.
demand planning strategy.
That,
Now I see
that's
the
right.
vision.
Yeah.
That's
At
amazing.
the end of the day, I don't think you should care whether they were on a 1 visit plan, a no visit plan, a software only plan. All you care is getting the next demand call. In fact, realistically, you'd probably rather do less to get it, right? And
Yeah.
so the software, at the end of the day, like if they can book with you, they can video chat you, they can get loyalty rewards, they can replace filters, and your logo's front and center at all times. Like our hypothesis, and we're just taking this to market, but our hypothesis is that the engagement we've seen through our core offering through the software is the same type engagement that would be in a software only offering. And of course, the cost of that is much lower than having to deploy hardware into the house.
Yeah. And perhaps in some cases, if folks are, want to make a simpler sell, it can be in some ways simpler because you're saying, hey, this is, a near free offering. Like this
Yeah.
just helps us make sure we did a great job. This helps you make sure you have a constant relationship with us. We're not going anywhere. We're your partner in this.
Right.
And I think it builds a lot of value for the company, because
Well,
it's not just and I see that is true with the hardware offering as well, because you have more detail. You can actually make a huge impact on a lot of different elements of that home operation. But it is very, very powerful.
yeah, we're excited about the opportunity for them to sell the software only membership via remotely, right? With the email, text, things of that nature. I mean, a lot of times a company will have 1,000 members, but they'll have a database of 7,500 customers, right? And having the ability to push out that free offering that comes with loyalty rewards and streamlines the experience of next time for the homeowner with the contractor, without ever having to go into the house is a really exciting thing. So we don't have any numbers on that yet because we're just launching it, but the tests that we have done with thousands of homeowners getting feedback on the value has said that over 50% would be interested in signing up for something free or close to free with all of those software benefits. So if that's even close to true, it can be game changing in the mission of trying to accomplish as close to 80% conversion as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's so many value propositions, but a key piece of this is like future deal volume, right?
Yeah,
The amount that I've heard that HVAC businesses pay for new leads
I
coming in
know.
the door is astounding.
I know.
And I think about this all the time. It's like, as a company operator, I also think about, we have all these leads. What are we doing to make sure that we're reaching them? And I think the best way to reach them is to offer something that is, a huge value to them, and potentially very low cost, as well, which is incredible, because it's no longer marketing. It's like edutainment of some kind, a
Yeah.
combination of words, educational and entertainment at the same time. But
Yeah.
it's like that's I think that's the way that you build value for your customers, is by providing them something that they can tangibly feel, and a relationship there that goes beyond just your brand commitment.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, many brands have offered free 2 or 3 years of maintenance agreements with the new system. They're literally spending hundreds of dollars a year going to the house just to keep the relationship, right? So like, we're not saying going to the house annually is bad. Like, get that every time you can when the homeowner is paying for it. But when they won't, there needs to be another way of accomplishing the core objective. And with technology and software, especially both hardware and software, both the price and the ease of installation and all those things are at a level that they weren't, 5 or 6 years ago. And so it really is a new tool in their bag, which just necessitates rethinking what's the goal, what have we been doing, what has been the reason we've done things the same way for 3 or 4 decades, and with these new tools, how should we go about it to optimize?
A little bit. And I guess one question for many business owners out there, like the common question is like, okay, well, how do I get my techs to do this? And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm curious your answer to that. How do you get your techs to do this? I know you have a really well thought out implementation plan that frankly we've learned much from you all. But yeah, how do you get the techs to do it?
yeah, that is the hardest part, honestly. Like, it doesn't matter how good your thing is, how good it is for the business, you have to get buy-in from the techs, right? So I mean, the obvious things are comp them correctly, right? Make sure that the interests are aligned between the technician and the business to sell the membership. Like, we're building into our software ways to where the technician can be comped as the membership renews or as it every year, right? So like, align the interests of the technician to keep the membership long term, right? When they're out in the area, how great would it be when they're out in the area, they could swing by and change a filter or replace batteries every 2 or 3 years and sensors or whatever, just to keep that membership sticky, because they make a little something off each one every year, right? And so it's really it starts with comp, right? But then also it's just, with anything, it's like, this is what's important to the business, setting goals and setting competitions and all the same things you would do for any sales type situation, but then also explaining to them and getting them confident with doing the setup, right? Most people think it's going to take 20-30 minutes. Once they've done it once or twice, I mean, it's like 8 minutes, right? So it's not breaking up their day, but still 8 minutes is different than nothing, right? So you need to make sure that they feel like that 10 minutes is worthwhile financially to them. If you check that box, everything else kind of downhill from there, I would say. And then of course we do all the training. We fly out to partners and train all their techs, and we do, learning management system and all the things for new onboarding new techs. And so it's a combination of hand holding them through the process and then making sure they're incentivized well.
So once you have the team members up and running, let's focus back on those KPIs. Like, what are the KPIs that you're tracking? I'm assuming conversion rates on those membership plans, and then lifetime value of customers. How
Yeah.
long does it take for people to start seeing that impact? I mean, obviously you have a bigger your company, the it takes longer from a rollout perspective to be able to see that across your entire user base,
Yeah.
because you need to get it in everybody's homes. But I'm curious how long it takes to see impact.
Yeah. So we have a few impacts. So obviously, the more homes you can acquire and retain, that is going to be the revenue will be lagging. So if you grab all the new memberships this year, they're not all going to buy stuff from you subsequently in that year, right? So usually it's year 2 or the next summer where you start to see the ROI. But then also there's the impact of reduced costs. So most of our clients go from a 2-visit year plan on HVAC to a 1-visit plan, telling the homeowner, hey, we've been coming twice for a long time, but that's because we didn't know what was going on at your house. Well, now we're monitoring it all year long. So, we're going to come out once, do all the things. We're going to do virtual visits and monthly reporting. And if you need a second visit because the data says something's wrong, we're not going to charge you for it. We'll come out, right? And so that allows them to double the amount of homes under management with the same team. So all the new memberships you sell, maybe with 1 visit instead of 2, it's much less COGS. Many of our clients go back to all of their existing customers over the next 1 or 2 shoulder seasons and upgrade them as well, because the cost savings of the labor alone pencils with what we charge annually, and then you free roll everything else, right? So some of those things, as with any investment into some technology, you're not going to see payback day one, but you'll see the leading indicators that are indicating where the ROI it's on the way. And then really in your next demand season is where you start to see a boost in new tickets, because you just have more homeowners that will think of you first and book through the app, of course. So
Yeah, and I think there's a few other things that I'm even thinking about that you didn't mention that you could see right off the bat, which is like, if you can better route technicians, that saved costs or potentially increased revenue. Obviously, very hard to measure, but you're also seeing that like re-engagement of your existing 7,500 user base. If you have a new offering, you have something new to go out to them with, which can generate a new pipeline of leads, whether of membership customers, but also of, in that moment, oh, I actually have this problem, you're top of mind, and I'd like to get this in my home.
Yep.
And as somebody who has, our team actually used smart AC sensors as part of some of our research we were doing to learn more about homes and better evaluate system sizing. I can confirm it's quite easy to install. So I think it can take less than 8 minutes, but 8 minutes is a good buffer. That's awesome. Well, with that, I know we're coming up at a little past the 30-minute mark. I would love to get, if you had final words of advice for teams that are thinking about adjusting their membership plans, or might not be thinking about membership plans as they look at summer, what would be your words of wisdom to pass on?
Yeah, so I think summer is probably not the ideal time to change all of your plans, but most of the clients that we interact with now are setting that up for late August, right? And when you're thinking about your plans, I would just encourage people to think about what will make the homeowner sign up day 1, what will the homeowner value on day 20, 100, 200, 500, and make sure that when you construct the plan, it makes sense day 1. You build things in that add value remotely with maybe bundling and filter ordering, or a lot of our clients do that, filter vouchers, or loyalty credits or things like that. So like the first thing you want to do is just think, as a consumer, what would I value? Make sure those things are built into the plans, or at least they have options, in some of their plans to have those things. And then make sure that think about what are the different types of homeowners I see, and try to construct a different offering for different ones. At the end of the day, we spend all day long thinking about memberships, and the best way to sell more of them is to have attractive offerings for all different types of homeowners. But yeah, that's a lot of what we do at Smart AC. It's not just like a product or a service. Like, we really consult the entire way through with our partner success team, as I'm sure you guys do as well. and come alongside, at this point, many hundreds of clients in weekly and semi-weekly call or bi-weekly calls to try to, encourage them in best practices and make sure that we're helping them as much as we can.
I love it. Well, Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to answer some questions today. I found this extremely interesting and super excited about everything that you all are building to make the lives of every contractor easier and to increase that recurring revenue, which is the number one benefit that I can think of as well, because recurring revenue is a beautiful thing as well.
We didn't talk about Conduit Tech much today, but I'm a raving fan of you guys too. So excited about what you guys are doing, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you so much, Josh. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Shelby. See you.
Thanks, everyone.